Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Lisa. Today's video is just going to be a little bit different from what I normally post. I had this whole kitchen reorganization video planned, but a couple of the pieces I ordered got delayed. So we're just going to pivot and we're going to do a cooking video instead. Now I'm hoping that this kitchen video will be ready for next week, God willing, and the creek don't rise, but we'll just have to wait and see. Now, it's been a long time since I've done some real actual cooking on camera, so I'm just gonna ask you to bear with me. So listen, look, this meal is full of cholesterol, calories, and just all the bad stuff. This is usually something I'd make on a Sunday for Vincent, because calories and cholesterol, they don't count on Sundays. But I really needed a video for this week, so we're just gonna do it early. And I already know he's gonna enjoy it. So I'm just starting with some barbecued ribs, and I just made myself a rub with some salt, pepper, garlic, and onion powder, and just a little bit of smoked paprika. And I just rubbed it into the ribs, and then I'm gonna throw them in the crock pot on high for something like 3 hours. It's about 3 hours. And this is just one rack of pork loin ribs. Now I also wanted to make some baked beans, and I came across a recipe using pinto beans instead of navy beans that looked really good, and I just really had to try it. So that's what I'm going to start working on next. These pinto beans are actually from my garden that I grew last year, and I'm going to use, I don't know, I think it's about 3 cups or so. I didn't really think to measure them. I just pulled out what I thought Vincent and I would eat. Now I picked through them and cleaned them out, even though I always clean them before I put them up. But I just wanted to make sure that there was nothing in there. And then I just gave them a good rinse. Now, pinto beans is something that Vincent and I both grew up eating a lot of, and we both love them. And it's just really nice to find different ways to cook them. But when I learned that I could grow them here in Indiana, man, I was over the moon. I was so excited, and I've just been growing them ever since. Last year I got like 3 pounds, and the year before that I got 5. So we get a good supply of them, every year. And once I got these beans all rinsed off, I put them in a pot, and I added some water, a little garlic and onion powder, salt, and a little bitty dash of pepper. And I also added a little piece of leftover ham that I had in the freezer from Easter, just to give it that little smoky pork flavor. And these are going to cook for about 2.5 hours. I wanted them tender, but not, real soft. And I just put them in the Dutch oven to cook instead of my normal bean pan, because I'm going to end up putting this whole concoction in the oven a little bit later on, and I just didn't want to dirty up 2 different dishes. So now that I got these beans going, I'm just going to clean off my counter and reset for my next dish. I'm really going to be working on cleaning as I go, because if I don't, I just already know with cooking this much food, everything is just going to pile up on me. So the next thing I want to make is potato salad. These are just some russet potatoes, and I'm using 2 small ones and 1 large one. And I'm just going to peel them and chop them up. You can't have barbecued ribs and baked beans without some potato salad. So let me just tell you about this. I wasn't even supposed to be filming on this day, actually. I was supposed to be out running errands and minding my business and grabbing a nice coffee. But when I went outside to leave, the tire on my van was actually flat. So I thought, alright, sir, we're just gonna cook and film. And so here we are, we're just cooking and filming. I was lucky I had everything I needed here at home to make this meal because part of my errands was actually running to the grocery store. So for the salad, I'm also going to be using some of my fresh eggs. And when I tell you they're fresh, they're like right out of the nest fresh. So they're going to have to be rinsed off, obviously, before I boil them. And I'm just using 3 eggs for this. I'm using 6 eggs in total, and 3 are going to be for the salad, and 3 will be for deviled eggs. And I like to boil my eggs really hard, so I boil them for a good long while when I make deviled eggs or when I use my eggs for potato salad. So I'm one of those weird people that believes that the universe puts you where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. So when snafus like my flat tire kind of happen, I try not to get too discouraged or too upset about it, and I just remind myself there's a reason why you got a flat tire today. There's a reason why you're not supposed to be out burning up the roads. And so then I just try to relax into the day and just try to go with the flow. That's just how I try really hard to handle snafu days. Next thing I'm going to whip up is peach cobbler. This is one of my all-time favorite foods. So I'm just going to use a stick of butter and I'm going to put it in this pan. I'm going to put the pan in the oven while it warms up and let the butter melt. And then for the batter, I'm going to use a cup of self-rising flour, 1 cup of regular white sugar, and 1 cup of, I'm just using whole milk. You can use whatever you want. I also like to use just a little bit of either cinnamon or pumpkin pie spice. And today I'm using, I don't know, probably like a teaspoon or so of pumpkin pie spice. I'm going to give it a good mix, not too much, but just enough to make sure that the flour and the sugar are good and wet. If you mix it too much, it doesn't come out very good. And once this butter is melted in the pan, I am going to throw a whole can of peaches in there. Now, when I was a kid, my grandma had a peach tree and she had tons of, homemade canned peaches. And it took me a long time to get used to the flavor of canned peaches that you get at the store. So I'm just going to pour the batter on top, and I'm going to throw it in the oven for about 45 or 50 minutes, and I'm going to cook it at 350. I'm really going to try and keep up on these dishes as well because I'm using a lot of them today, and I just really don't want to get buried under dirty dishes. And I'm telling you, whenever I cook like this, it will look like I used every single dish that I own. Sometimes I wonder if when I'm not looking, they're actually reproducing. So while I'm waiting on everything to bake, boil, and cook, and do whatever it's gonna do, I'm gonna straighten up the dining room. Nothing major, just wiping off the table and the chairs and sweeping the floor. Jada just recently groomed our little bunny. She's a groomer. She's been doing it for a few years. And so she gives them baths and haircuts and, grooms them here at home a lot. And when she's done bathing them, she uses this great big blow dryer. And even though she keeps the bathroom door shut and she cleans up her mess when she's done, there's always little piles of dog hair that get missed. It's just inevitable. So I'm just going to be sweeping that up, which is no big deal. Poor little bunny. she was so itchy. We think that she's got allergies. So Jada went and got her some professional shampoo that is supposed to help with itching and stuff like that, and it seems to help a little bit. But Bunny, she's a little special one. So they were calling for rain in my area on this day, thunderstorms and all of that. And I just kept getting all of these alerts on my phone about thunderstorm warnings, and it was in all of the counties that are around me, but there was none for my county. So the day ended up being really heavy and humid. It did rain for about 5 minutes, and I heard like maybe one rumble of thunder, but that was really about it. The air just felt really wet and heavy. It does happen a lot here. They'll say we're like in an enhanced risk area and we're supposed to get all this rain, and then nothing really happens. The storms break up and they go around us. Now, we'll get some major windstorms sometimes, just not like the tornadoes and the thunderstorms and stuff like that. So, it was really humid, and thankfully it wasn't too hot, but it was just really humid today. So my potatoes are done, and I'm going to start putting this salad together. Now, I normally use dill pickle relish, but I don't have any. So I'm using some pickles I canned over the summer last year, and they're going to be just fine. I like to use the jar relish, like Vlasic or something like that, because it has like other flavors in it besides just the dill and the pickle. And I just think it really just kind of enhances the salad. But I'm just gonna work with what I got, and it's gonna work out fine. I like it this way too. But I'm also gonna be using the brine from the pickles since I don't have relish, for just a little extra like moisture juice. And I'm gonna chop these pickles up really tiny, as small as I can, so it kind of like relish. And this cutting board, it just kept moving on me. It got on my nerves. So I'm gonna take these eggs and I'm just gonna give them a rough little chop. What I like to do is kind of smash my eggs and my potatoes together. And I don't really do it like mashed potatoes, but I just kind of smash them. I don't know. I just like the way that it comes together. I like my potato salad to resemble sort of deviled eggs. So I like to use the same amount of potatoes and eggs, equal. And then I just give everything a rough chop, and then I just kind of smash it together before I start adding, my moisture. And I'm using Duke's mayo today because honestly, I just didn't feel like making any mayonnaise today. I just figured I would use some of this Duke's. That's what I like to use if I don't make it. Duke's mayonnaise tastes really close to my homemade mayonnaise, so it works out fine. Has that creamy mayo tang to it, and I really like it. So I'm gonna alternate between the pickle brine and the mayonnaise. So I'm gonna add my mayonnaise very slowly, so I didn't overdo it. And the only reason I'm adding the brine is because I didn't use relish, because relish usually has a lot of moisture in it. So that's what I'm gonna do. Just go back and forth until I get it just right. And then I'm eventually gonna add just a little squirt of some yellow mustard. I don't use a lot of it. Some people use a lot of it and they'll call it like mustard potato salad, but I just use a little squirt. I use it kind of more as a seasoning. And then when I get it all mixed up, the pickles and the mustard, and for seasonings, I'm gonna add some celery salt, onion powder, garlic powder, and just a little bit of table salt, since I do use a lot of celery salt in it. And then I'm gonna just, mix it all together really good, make it nice and creamy, and cover it and throw it in the fridge. And it'll sit in there for a couple hours before it's time to eat. And it'll be nice and chilled when it's ready to serve.
free. In these sweet moments, just being me. The counting fades a peaceful hum. The world slows down and I just become lost in the rhythm of a quiet day where every small thing lights the way.
So now my cobbler's done. I want you to take a look at this. There's the money shot. Nice. Okay, so now I'm going to work on these beans. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to save back about a cup of the bean broth. I'm going to be using it in the sauce that I'm going to make for the beans. And I'm just going to pour off the rest that's left, the extra. I don't need it for anything. And then, so I'm going to dump my beans out and drain them. And then I'm going to not wash my Dutch oven. I'm going to leave all the bean droppings in there because I feel like it's going to just, you know, add to the flavor. At least I hope. Anyway, that's the goal. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to dice up an onion. I just used a half of a white onion. Seemed like that would be enough. It was a pretty good size onion. And I just kind of diced them up small, thin, you know. And then I also took 3 cloves of garlic and diced those up really well. And I try to make everything kind of thin and kind of small, you know. And then I have some bacon fat that I saved. And I threw that in the pan and let that get good and hot. And I added the onions and garlic and let those brown up real well and saute. And see how it just kind of picked up some of the bean stuff that was left in there. And now once that's done, and they're nice and transparent, I'm going to start adding the other stuff. So I'm going to start with 2 tablespoons of just regular tomato sauce, nothing fancy. And then 2 tablespoons of barbecue sauce, and I'm using Sweet Baby Ray's honey barbecued sauce. And then I'm also going to add a tablespoon of dark brown sugar. You can probably just use regular brown if you want. Half a teaspoon of mustard and a half a teaspoon of white vinegar. And just a couple of little drops of liquid smoke and a little dash of paprika. Not a lot. And then I'm just gonna let this cook together just for a couple minutes, like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that. And then I'm gonna add the bean broth and then again kind of let it all cook together for a couple minutes. Now I only added about a half a cup of the bean broth. I wasn't real sure how much I would need, so that's why I saved back a whole cup. And then after I let that cook together for just a couple minutes, just like 2-3 minutes, I added the beans. And then I mixed it all together. I even left the ham in, everything. And I'm going to get that all mixed together really well. And then I'm going to let it simmer very, very low for about 20 minutes on the stovetop. And just kind of till it, you know, tastes combined. And then I'm going to throw it in a 325 oven, uncovered, for about 20-25 minutes. And look at that. Man, isn't that pretty? So now my ribs are done. So I'm going to go ahead and smother them in barbecue sauce. Again, I'm using the Sweet Baby Ray's sweet honey barbecue sauce. I'm going to put the lid back on and I'm going to let them cook on low now for about 45 minutes or so, half hour, 45 minutes. Just let that barbecue sauce cook in there. And I also want to make some biscuits because I love biscuits, especially with barbecue. Now, this is, I'm using some lard that I actually rendered myself, but you can use shortening too if you want. And I'm going to put this in the oven while it heats up at 425. And the recipe that I'm going to be using, I actually got off of TikTok. This lady named Mama Gail. She makes these biscuits, and man, they are really good biscuits. Now, like if I'm gonna have biscuits and gravy, I'll make the other ones, you know, where you kind of roll them out and cut them out, and they're a little drier. But these biscuits are really good, I feel like, when you want to like serve it on the side of a dinner plate instead of say like bread or garlic bread or something. Um, these biscuits always turn out really tender and moist, and they're really good. So what I do is I use self-rising flour, and I'm using whole milk. You can use buttermilk or 2% or whatever you want. And then once the lard is melted, I'll just add some of that in there. Now, I can't tell you exact ingredients because I don't know. I just do it by feel. But you just kind of want your batter to resemble like a good pancake batter. And now that my skillet is really hot, I'm just going to spoon these biscuits into the skillet. And we're going to bake them at 425 for about 25 minutes. Now, my entire family loves these biscuits. Like I said, they're moist, they're tender. They just have a really good flavor to them. Now, I personally like them with just plain milk. That's how Mama Gail makes them. But I've made them with buttermilk before too, and they're really good. They're good like that. But I prefer buttermilk in the other kind of biscuits, you know, the ones you cut out. And these with just regular whole milk. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you, but I just like it better. So, yep, we're just gonna throw these in the oven and they'll be done in about 20-25 minutes. I just kind of keep an eye on them. And I check them after about 20 minutes to make sure that they're not getting too brown on the bottom. Especially when I use lard because, you know, that gets hot really fast, so. And once they're done, just take them out and I'm gonna flip them over onto a plate and I'm gonna smother them with butter, butter and a biscuit. And they're just, look at them, they're just so good. Now I use unsalted butter when I do these biscuits. You could use salted if you prefer. I just happen to like unsalted butter better. The one thing I do different than Mama Gail is I add a dash of salt to my batter. She does not put salt in hers, but I do. I just like it better that way. But you don't have to if you don't want to. Look at that money shot. It came out perfect. So of course you have to have a delicious beverage when you have a meal like this. So I'm gonna make some red tropical punch Kool-Aid. Again, this isn't something that we normally have. Usually we don't make Kool-Aid unless the kids are over or unless we're having to get together and, you know, a lot of people are gonna be eating. But I just feel like this drink kind of just tops off the barbecue and the potato salad and the baked beans, you know, that whole summer cookout kind of feel, especially with the humid day that it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start plating up this food for Vincent. And he was really surprised that I made all this food. Usually on a weekday he'll get like some chicken and a garden salad or a piece of steak and some garden salad or something with a lot of vegetables. We eat a lot of vegetables through the week. And we, you know, like I said, we save up all of our calories for Sunday, our calories and cholesterol. So we only do it like once a week. So he was really excited. I told him, don't get too excited because, yeah, you're not getting it on Sunday. Sunday is just going to be a salad. But, you know, I did chop up some romaine lettuce and I shredded just a little bit of cheese on top of it, squirted a little ranch on it, you know, just so it felt healthy. Added a pickle, and there you go. He said, "Wow, that's a lot of food." I said, "Yes, it is." Enjoy. So he ended up chatting with Jada, and I wasn't gonna wait for him to sit down and eat. I really wanted to eat these beans, and they were fantastic. Those will be a go-to from now on. Whenever I want to serve beans, that recipe is what I'm gonna use every time from now on. They were so good. So after we got done eating all of this food, we actually had to wait for a couple of hours before we could eat our cobbler. Vincent brought home some vanilla ice cream to go with it, and we were just way too full. There was just a lot of food. So we waited for a few hours and we had it for our late night snack. And then we just put a little scoop of vanilla ice cream on it, and it was really good. So we're coming up to the end of the video, guys. I just wanted to say thanks a lot for sticking with me and being patient. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I'd ask you to, just hit the like button. If you think maybe you'd want to see some more of my content, because I try to make different kinds of stuff all the time, just hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And I just want to say how much I really appreciate your time. I really do. I say it all the time, and I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. But that's it. That's all I got for you today. That's the cobbler and ice cream, and that's the end. So I am going to let you go, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.